Good morning, members of the Food and Beverage Tax Advisory Commission and Monroe County. This is the January 21st meeting of the FabTac, as we have decided to abbreviate it. And I would like to call us to order. We need to begin with a roll call vote to show our participation for the record. And Megan, would you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Thomas?
Here.
Satile?
Here.
Munson?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Hamilton?
Here.
Bright?
Here.
Bush?
Here.
Great, thank you, everybody. So you all saw the agenda with the packet, and we have simply election of officers to carry out first, and then we have a request from the Monroe County Commissioners. So I'll call on Commissioner Thomas.
Yeah, if y'all don't mind, I'll make one motion. I'd like to move to elect Cheryl Munson as chair and Ron Smith as vice chair, if you don't mind, Ron.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Everybody seconds it. Are there any more nominations? Seeing none, we will have a roll call vote on the two officers, Ron Smith for vice chair and myself for chair. Megan, would you handle the roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Satile?
Yay.
Munson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes, and thanks.
Bright?
Yes.
Bush?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you all. So let's get right to our short agenda. And this is a request from the Monroe County Commissioners. And I'll ask Commissioner Thomas to make the presentation.
Right, I will start, but then I will pass this over to Mr. Cockrell from our legal office. This is something that the commissioners passed through, our request got passed through in January this year. What we'd like to do is set aside some of the food and beverage money to ensure that our convention center remains in great shape financially. So this money could be utilized for the debt payment that we currently have on property and the last renovation, but also operations costs as they may be needed. Mr. Cockrell?
Yes, we currently have in the county's food and beverage tax fund, we currently have a little over $600,000 in there, and we get a 20 to 30,000 per month coming into that fund. Due to the COVID experience, we've had a reduction in our innkeeper's tax, which is used to pay for these expenses. But I think a little bit more importantly, we haven't been operating as a convention center due to the COVID-19, which that income offsets a lot of these expenses as well. So we're just wanting to use some of the food and beverage money to go ahead and support both the debt payment and the management agreement we have with the convention center. The state statute clearly allows for this use. And so we are asking this board, I think at this point in time, I think the commissioners have thought about a number of around 300,000 to see how that would get us through the upcoming months. We know that there are still other needs in the community that this money may be used for. Not asking for that today, but just kind of wanted to make sure we could use some of that for this and then have another conversation in the future about the best use of the remaining portion.
Mm-hmm. So thank you. I'll comment that I think it's very important to have a specific amount that we are discussing. And I do know that a debt payment is 159,000, and 2 debt payments would be 318,000. Commissioner
And-
Thomas, do you have a specific amount that you would put forth to this commission?
Right, that figure would be 300,000.
300,000.
Right, and what
Okay.
we're hoping to do is, there are additional funds available in the food and beverage tax fund for the county, but we're also really concerned about our local businesses, and we don't want to use all of the money right now. If necessary, we'll come back with a request to utilize additional funds to support our local businesses again, as we did last year. I think it all depends on how the forecast looks for vaccine and the economy and how everything works together.
And I would just note that 159 debt payment, that is a quarterly payment. So the total debt payment is north of 600,000 a year.
Yeah, I think that would be 636,000. We have we have an agreement that was placed into our packet as a draft, and you saw that, Mr. Cockrell?
I've seen a lot of them. Let me see if I've got the right one.
It doesn't list a specific amount.
Okay, then yes, I do have the correct one.
Okay, so if TSD would let me share my screen. I will try. Trying still. Do you see it?
No.
No. Hello, TSD, are you there?
Oh, there you go.
Great, thank you. So this is the formal approval that we can vote on. And the first line of the now therefore, it says to use any and all funds in the county's food and beverage tax fund. And can we change any and all funds to 300,000? Good. So, Commissioner Thomas, would you move that change?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend this request to be more specific. In item 1, county commissioners request the use of $300,000 from the county's food and beverage tax fund, etc.
Second.
Very good. Thank you. So do we have a second for this approval by the commission?
Yes. Second it.
Mr. Smith seconds. Is there any further discussion by council members?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Holcomb had a State of the State address the other day, and he mentioned that there's $2 billion in our coffers. And I'm just wondering what the state is going to do with that, and if any of our counties can tap into stimulus to enhance our economic recovery. So we don't have to use all of our coffers, all of our county or city money that we have in reserve, which is not $2 billion. 600 right now, I guess, is what you guys have. I mean, I'm tapping into money from an employer's stand on federal PPP
Right.
loans, START grants, PPPE, anything I can get my hands on. So I'm just hoping our city's tapping into as many options as possible as well, or our county.
So Commissioner Thomas, do you have a comment on that?
Well, it's hard to tell what the state legislature is going to do. My crystal ball's in the shop, and it's wonky, especially where it comes to state legislative change. I agree with you. I mean, I think that would be an important use. What we did, I would just encourage the good folks at the city to consider changing the loans to grants from food and beverage, and we've put some CARES dollars into security, which is to help enforce the health order. It's more educational than enforcement. So we've done quite a bit to try to help cities, the businesses throughout the county and the city. But when we did food and beverage last time, we were restricted to really focusing our grants on just county entities, entities outside of the city because of the way the food and beverage tax is collected. But that would be great to utilize food and beverage now. Who knows what the state may or may not do. I don't know. There are more than 1,000 bills sitting right now, swirling around the General Assembly. So we're definitely keeping an eye on it.
That's good. I think the city and the county are doing an excellent job of supporting all businesses in Bloomington. So is our community members. So I think we're doing things right. I just hope we try to get some state money, and glad to hear you are being aware of it.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead if you want, Ron.
Oh, no, I'm glad you jumped on, John. Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess I would just make a couple points. One, I do hope the new federal administration will be pushing some more support related to COVID, the CARES Act money. As Commissioner Thomas noted, the CARES Act money is basically the recovery money that we've gotten from the feds and through the state. All that recovery money is great, and the more we can get, the better. Using that in lots of different ways. Food and beverage money is we've put out close to $2 million in support for the businesses and nonprofits, and we're continuing to make those available. And we're talking to people about how to do it well, but trying to be prudent with this too, and happy to keep talking about that. So I did have some questions on the presentation too, if I may, but Brian, I didn't know if you wanted to comment on Susan's comment.
My comment on Susan was going to say for that. It was a great question. And I think one of the things that comes up in my mind is if we vote this in and authorize the use of the $300,000, and then the state comes out with some CARES Act money or another way to help local municipalities and counties. How does that work? Does that mean, I don't know if this is a Mr. Cockrell question or not, does that mean then that we just would not draw down that $300,000 out of food and beverage, and we would just use the money that's provided by the state?
Well, I guess it's hard to answer that question because we don't know what form the relief is going to come in. Clearly, if that's an option, we would explore it. I would expect that if it was an option, that would be one of a few different options that we'd have to sit around and determine which is the most optimal option for the community. So if it's there, we'll certainly look at it and try to figure out the best course. I think as Commissioner Thomas said earlier, that we still have some concerns about the recovery of a lot of this industry. And I think that has, through the conversations with the commissioners, that has been a high priority as well. So we'd have to look at what's the best way to utilize all our funding to make sure we do give the support we can, as well as maintain our convention center.
Our focus, our focus has been on grants rather than loans, because we know that a lot of businesses have PPP loans and other things to pay back. And if the economy is not recovering, when loans are due, whether it be from lending institution or through PPP or whatever it might be, they may not be able to do so. And so we've used for social service organizations and businesses, we've used almost $480,000 out of our county's care funds. And then when we did the food and beverage grants, which did allow for payroll, which ours, we're not using CARES money for payroll, but when we did the food and beverage grants, it was almost 400,000. So we've put quite a bit into the community to support social services, with the CARES money, a little bit on taxing units, but a focus on businesses.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Well, thanks for the
Thank you.
response on that. I just, that was a question that came into my mind about how we would deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you all. Other comments from members of the commission?
Should I
Let's
just jump
turn
in?
into public comment.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
think
I
that's
did-
right.
I
Mr.
did have a
Mayor?
question. Sorry. Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to make one first a comment that I think I regularly make, which is that I think this commission is and should be focused on assuring that the requests that come up to us are appropriate uses of the food and beverage tax. We have, as we've gone through the years, have tried to keep remembering it's not to revisit or second guess the request of the entities, just to make sure they are appropriate uses of the food and beverage revenue. For example, the city's is dedicated to particular expansion of the convention center and others, and we've been careful about that and making sure they're appropriate uses under the food and beverage tax legislation, which this clearly looks like to me as supporting the convention center. I did want to ask. I seem to recall, and I'm not sure. It's been a little while, but can we actually? I thought we had to respond to a specific form request passed by the requesting entity rather than amend them ourselves. Does the statute let us amend a request from an entity coming forward, or are we just supposed to approve it?
What we're considering today is a new request. It's not an amendment of a previous request. All we did was change the wording in the written agreement that was in the packet.
The
And that was-
resolution the commissioners passed is listed.
Yes.
We okayed a higher amount and are coming in for a lower amount, which is totally, as long as we don't ask for more at this stage, I think it's absolutely legitimate. Mr. Cockrell?
Yeah, that would be my conclusion. I see it as a lot like an additional appropriation request to any of the fiscal bodies, in that you ask and then it can always be lowered, but you can't raise it beyond what the original request was.
So is this I'm just asking formally, I seem to recall we had to go back to a fiscal body to get a request changed. Are you the fiscal body that you can change it?
I actually think what you have to do is go back to the legislative
Body.
and the county commissioners are the county's executive and legislative body.
I'm sorry. Okay. So
Yeah, it is legislative.
is this is Julie, are you the legislative body today? Are you acting as that today? I'm just trying to make sure. And
Okay.
with Jeff, if you're comfortable with it as the lawyer, that this is a change of the request. I just remember I seem to remember in the statute, we have to get a specific formal request from that legislative body.
Right.
Right.
So-
What's not in the packet, but is referenced in this packet and referenced in this resolution is the resolution that the county commissioners passed in January,
Yes.
where the funding was requested.
So-
And that's what's maybe in the next packet, we'll make sure that we always have that supporting documentation.
Right.
I think that's what you're referring to, Mayor Hamilton, right? The
Okay.
supporting documentation.
Well, yeah, I thought I saw that though.
The
attached resolution is there,
Okay.
right?
it was there.
Okay, I
That's-
didn't get it in mine. Okay.
And I would say that the resolution approved by the commissioners asked for the use of any and all. So I think any is part of the request.
So, all right. So you think we can read that? We don't just vote up or down on this request. We can adjust it.
That's what
Yes.
I believe we have done with Commissioners Thomas' proposal for 300,000.
Right. I'm just asking the lawyers, just making
Oh.
sure that they.
Yeah,
feel
I think
comfortable.
that you are fully capable and able to put a specific dollar figure into your motion and your approval.
And if I can speak to that real quick, I don't think this commission is amending the request. I think what Commissioner Thomas has stated is that she's clarifying on behalf of the county commissioners that their request is $300,000. So I don't think that this commission made that decision. What I heard is that the commissioners want it to be 300,000. And so that's the request that is coming before. If the question is, did the commissioners approve? They can certainly, if there's any question about that, that's certainly something that they can clarify or ratify in an upcoming meeting if there's a concern about that. But just to be clear, I don't think that this commission is modifying anything. I think you're approving what the legislative body of the county is requesting.
Well, that then we're not amending that. We're not having a vote to amend this. We shouldn't amend it, right? I mean, I think that kind of makes sense to me, that we're receiving this and we're interpreting it, I guess, a certain way. And
Right.
and I do think it may. Anyway, Margie, what you just said would suggest we should not, as a commission, amend the request because it's not
No,
our
it's
request,
not our business. Right.
Right. Okay.
So what
That's
we were
helpful.
talking about, Mr. Hamilton, was referring to the document that is in the packet.
Yeah.
And that agreement, bringing that before the members of the commission, is to be more specific with the amount being $300,000.
Right.
So we're not changing their request.
Okay. That's fine. And can I just for, and again, I think this is a very appropriate use of the money. I support it and appreciate it. And I know the innkeeper's tax has taken a real hit, bigger than the food and beverage tax, as I understand it.
Yes.
Are these quarterly payments kind of, what's the rhythm of them? Like when's the next one due, or
Right.
the 300 cover the first half of this year? Is that the idea? And it's again, I'm completely supported. I'm just kind of trying to get
Okay.
a sense of it.
The next payment is due in April. And so that would be the next debt payment. I think that there is some savings still with the convention center and the Convention and Visitors Commission. So I don't know if it will necessarily all be paid out of food and beverage in April, or if it'll be a portion between the two, or how that will work. clearly the county still has to go to the county council and ask for an additional appropriation. And so we still have those wheels that have to be turned before we're allowed to spend the money. So we're just trying to get in early so we can make sure all that's in place before April.
And they do have some funds set aside already toward making that first payment, but we're just trying to ensure that they financially are more comfortable, especially with other ongoing costs. I mean, the convention center, for example, has been gracious enough to host the public health vaccine clinic at the convention center. They've hosted blood drives, and they're not charging the community for that service. So, you know, which is appropriate but wonderful, and they've just been amazing. So this is really a buffer to ensure that they can continue to operate this year, and we just don't want to have any shortfalls.
Can
Thank
I
you.
ask a question, Cheryl?
Ms. Guthrie, please.
Thank you. I'm just wondering how this will be documented. Well, that now there will be a specific dollar amount.
How it will be documented? It will be documented in the minutes of this commission.
Can I recommend maybe the way to do this, and I support this, is that we approve, we have a request in front of us from the commissioners, which has any and all. That's what's passed and presented to us. Maybe we could, I mean, I think we either have to approve it or reject that, but maybe we could approve it, but in the minutes or in statements say, we would ask that the commissioners come back to us before they spend more than 300, if that's what we want to do. I'm fine doing any and all, frankly, but I just don't know that we have legal authority to change their request. But maybe we do. I don't know. I just want to make sure we're clean, that we have a clear.
I guess I go back to the request itself, which refers to any and all. And I think that this commission has the authority to decide what is the any. We could put up the any. We could provide $1.
And let me clarify as well. There's case law in Indiana that says boards and commissions speak through their minutes. So I think what's in the minutes already, what has been established in the minutes, is that the commissioners, as a legislative body, have narrowed the request to and clarified that it's 300,000 they want. That any and all is limited to 300,000. Now, I would recommend that the commissioners make that clear by way of a resolution in a public meeting, so there's no doubt that that was a commissioner's action. But can say that the Food and Beverage Board can say in its minutes that you're approving that request that Commissioner Thomas stated, which is 300,000. It'll be reflected in your minutes. The resolution that can be amended to reflect what's in the minutes, and approved or not by this board. But I don't know. I guess I'm sort of lost as to why there's confusion about that.
I'm not. I'm just trying to make sure it's all handled clearly. It's fine. I suppose it's theoretically possible that that two commissioners could state something else, and I'm fine with approving all the money. I don't have any problem with it. I just want to make sure we're documenting it appropriately. And if the commissioners, if two of them said, actually, we do want to spend 600,000 or whatever, I mean, which is fine with me again. But if they said that and that contradicted what we said, who wins? Because, and I'm happy to approve the presentation, the proposal as presented. I just want to make sure we're papering it right and not getting into any snafu. So you go ahead and I'll support it, whatever you do. So.
Okay, well, where I think we are is that we had a request from the commissioners to specify the amount as $300,000. And I
You're
think
right.
that that agreement should be brought before the board for a vote. But we do have members of the public who may wish to comment. And I see 2 hands up. So commission members, if you don't have further comments, I'll turn to public comment now. Mr. Spoonmore.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just a question about the process. Does there need to be a vote on the amendment to the request? And has that vote occurred?
I don't think, I'll weigh in here and let Jeff and Philippa also weigh in. I think that the minutes are clear from Julie Thomas that the commissioners as the legislative body are asking for 300,000. The resolution was drafted, as I understand it, from Jeff Cockrell, and it may not have specifically had a dollar amount in it. It can have a dollar amount. Commissioners are asking for 300,000, then that's what the resolution can have in it. But it's clear to this commission, I think, from today's meeting that the commissioners are asking for 300,000. And so I don't think this commission is amending the request. I think the request is for 300,000. And so that the commission should vote on that as presented by Commissioner Thomas. Now, if the resolution wasn't specific, I don't think that that's necessarily reflective of the commission's intent. I think it's just the way it was drafted.
Got
But
it. Okay.
Philippa and Jeff, I'm not the only attorney on this call, so jump in if you have a legal opinion that disagrees with that.
No, I
don't
think
know
that's
if I-
spot on.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just saying, I think that's accurate. I mean, the intent is for the legislative body to make a recommendation to this group, and they have. And the fact that, they were a little open-ended with their resolution so they could gather more information and make it more specific, I don't think that's fatal to the request.
I
Ms.
don't know
Guthrie?
if it's fatal. I would just say that the documentary trail is not crystal clear. I mean, the commission made a request for any and all. It's there in the document. It's what was presented in the packet. And at the meeting, one commissioner asked to reduce. And I think it's a good thing that it's reduced. If it were more money, that would be really problematic. And, minutes is fine documenting it. It's just not ideal, is all I'd like to say.
Yeah, I think that the resolution should be amended to reflect what Commissioner Thomas said is the request. And I think to be clear, commissioners' next meeting, they need to make sure that it's in their minutes that that was what they wanted. And then I think we've got a paper trail that is clear. So, the resolution didn't have the specific amount. In hindsight, it should have. I think it can be. It's been reflected in the minutes what the request is. The resolution can be amended accordingly before signed, and the commissioners can tie up any loose strings at their next meeting.
Okay.
That's how I would proceed. But are the other lawyers okay with that plan forward?
One question of clarification. Are you then approving the resolution as drafted today, the request,
So,
and then refining it?
I think the request that is on the floor is different than what was in the packet, because I think Commissioner Thomas has clarified that the resolution in the packet wasn't specific, and the commissioners want a specific amount. So I think that the request on the floor is to approve 300,000. Doesn't match what's in the resolution, and I think we've explained why that is, but
Okay.
I think the request is for 300,000.
Okay,
So you're saying going back, the commissioners can fix that in their next meeting?
I think that, this is an example of commissioner intent versus what's actually reflected on the document that was drafted. And I think that that's been clear in this minutes from Julie Thomas that what the commissioners wanted was 300,000.
Mhm.
Is that clear, Commissioner? Is that true, Commissioner Thomas?
Right. So I would like to comment on this. I don't see the urgency of making a decision today because payments are not due to April. This commission will be meeting again in February to approve the draft 2020 annual report. And we could take up a more specific request from the commissioners at that time with their amended resolution. Would that put everybody's minds at ease? Ms. Thomas?
We still have to get something advertised and before the council as well. So it's not just, oh, February is fine for March. February becomes April at least. So that's my concern.
Let me just say, I'm actually fine approving the resolution as presented, which asks for any and all. That's what came from the commissioners, and I don't have a problem with that. I think the only other thing that maybe would be helpful to put in the record is the actual balance, just so that any and all has some tie to an amount. And I think Mr. Cockrell referenced an amount, but it might be useful to just put in the record. It's also helpful if 300 comes, make sure 300 is less than any and all, which I know it is, but it may be good to put that in the record. But I am sensitive to the timing and sending this clear signal. I'm actually comfortable saying that any and all with a report in the record of what that dollar amount is of the maximum, and then let the commissioners decide to spend less than that if they want to. I'm okay with that too, not have to push it off.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Could I just mention one more thing as well too? When you're done with the discussion, when you're ready to go back to public comment.
I will go back to public comment.
Okay.
I would like to comment that I am not comfortable agreeing to provide the commissioners with any and all of the funds to spend for the convention center support. And I know there are other needs in our community, and I don't think it's good business to have an open-ended check up to the amount that's actually in the fund.
Well, I guess I would just make clear, I'm not saying completely open-ended. I just would have a cap on what's in the balance as of now, and that's what they're asking for, and that's what would be understood. And I'd be fine with that, but go however you want to go. So.
And we have to take this before the county council, Ms. Munson. So.
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You get a little teeth in that one then. Huh?
So it will be up to the members of this commission to decide if they wish to approve the any and all, if that is to be the wording in this. So public comment is still requested. Let me return to Council President Eric Spoonmore.
Yes, thanks, Ms. Munson. And my apologies for earlier not introducing myself, County Council President Eric Spoonmore. And so as long as when this comes back to council with that more specific dollar amount tied to it, I'm fine with this, and I would urge your collective support of it today, as long as this discussion here will satisfy the needs that we have for the documentation of that. I do think it's a very prudent and appropriate use of the funds, and again, would hope that you all will support the request. And I'm sure this will also receive wide support from the county council and our membership at the time it comes to us for appropriation as well too. So thank you all for the good informative discussion here today. It's great to see you all. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. Congratulations to Cheryl Munson and Ron Smith on your appointment to leadership on this board, and look forward to all the successful developments to come in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spoonmore.
Thank you. Counselor Jeff McKim wishes to make a comment.
Thank you very much, Food and Beverage Commissioners, and thank you for considering this request. I do hope, as did my colleague Eric Spoonmore, that you pass the request today. I believe that Commissioner Thomas has appropriately constrained the request at the beginning of this meeting, reducing the amount to 300,000, and the lawyers seem to be in agreement that that request can indeed be lowered, not increased. Although how you would increase any and all, I don't know how that would work, but I think it's been appropriately constrained. I probably would have chosen $318,000 just because that comes out to 2 debt payments exactly. I would also recommend ultimately that the money be constrained to debt payment rather than debt and management expenses. I think that opens a door that you don't necessarily want opened. And in effect, it does this by paying the debt, you're already freeing up management expenses. But that said, that's something that we could certainly do when the appropriation comes up at the county council. And so if the request is left open-ended as to both management and debt, I will make a motion at the time that we would consider the appropriation to constrain it to debt payments. But I do believe that paying the debt at the amount that is recommended by the county commissioners is entirely appropriate and an excellent use of the county's collections of food and beverage tax. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor McKim. We also have Mr. Mike Campbell, who is president of the Convention and Visitors Commission. Mr. Campbell, do you still wish to speak?
Yes, and thank you, Ms. Munson. I just want to make sure that we're clear on just a couple of things. The timing on the next loan payment at the time in which that approval is, and because of timing, it is due on April 1st. So it's in April, but on April 1st. And so the approval and appropriation needs to happen prior to that time. And typically that is done in the earlier or mid part of March in order to make the claim and make sure that the payment gets in on time. So just from a timing standpoint, I understand we're talking about April, but it's really the month prior to that in which that next payment needs to happen. And then I'll say this, without these funds or without additional funds, we will likely have to be making, the CVC will likely have to be making operational decisions that will either reduce staffing or expenditures that will lengthen the recovery time for the hospitality industry. Industry experts point to the third and fourth quarter of this year as to when travel will start to rebound. And we all know that traveling is one of the areas that supports both hotel and hospitality and retail and travel, in addition to food and beverage operations in this county. And so without that recovery or the constraint that we would be slowing the recovery in not having the funds available to take advantage of that, really puts us in a situation where the impact will be muted and not allow for profitability, both with our businesses in town, but also tax collections are going to lag behind when we start to do that recovery. So I would ask that that these funds be made available. I appreciate the consideration of it. It is a financial burden that we did not anticipate. And whereas food and beverage operations have been constrained and hurt, and I know some more than others, that is mirrored in the hospitality and hotel industry at a greater rate. And so some of our operators are struggling mightily, and the only way out of this is through recovery and travel. So I appreciate the consideration for these funds and hope those can be made available as soon as possible because we, just like any other business, crave predictability and knowing where the funds are so that we can plan appropriately on how to time our expenditures. So thank you for
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. We're very glad to have your comments. Commission members, we should refer to a specific agreement, and Mr. Cockrell or Ms. Rice, would you read the statement, please? The now therefore portion.
The original one or the one as you guys discussed amending?
As discussed, amending.
The Monroe County Board of Commissioners requests to use $300,000 in the county's food and beverage tax fund for expenses related to debt service of the convention center, campus property, and convention center management expenses is approved.
Okay, that's the commissioner's request.
That is what the now therefore
Okay.
would be stated.
Okay. And it does not state an amount except by reference to the discussion today. Don't you think there should be an amount indicated in our agreement to make it more clear?
Or maybe I should reread that. The Monroe County Board of Commissioners requests to use $300,000 in the county's food and beverage tax fund for expenses related to debt service of the convention center campus property and convention center management expenses is approved. So that $300,000 is in that rate.
Okay, thank you. So is everybody clear on this? I know it might be hard for Ms. Bush to have tracked this via phone, but.
Yeah, I think it's.
No, I'm right here with you guys.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you.
I think it's appropriate and in the interest of being efficient and getting this out there so everybody knows what's going on. I certainly support it.
Okay. Are you ready to have a vote, commission members? We'll have Ms. Miller call the roll.
Smith,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Bright,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Satile,
Yes.
Munson.
Yes,
Motion passed unanimously.
thank you all. So
Thank you.
Very
now
good.
next time we will be looking for specific numbers when we have something requested of this commission.
I'd
And
like
we-
to tag on that I think an appropriate number than 300,000 doesn't really cover 2 loan payments.
I think so too.
Covered 2 loan payments. Mike Campbell brought up good points. Finances needs to be way ahead of the game before you don't want finances to act during a crisis.
No. And and thank you all for your patience in working around this slightly convoluted request, but I think we're all very happy to see the convention center supported.
Indeed.
Okay. Other business before us are 2. One is the annual report for the year 2020, which I have started on with the help of Ms. Miller and with the help of Mr. Christopher Munch in the auditor's office. And we will need to get information from the city, and I will coordinate with Mr. Smith on this. So we can have this available to us at a meeting in February. And we need to hold this meeting prior to the last council meeting of February, because that is when the report is due to be presented to the county council as the body that enacted the tax. Okay, so that is a nice segue into the last item on our agenda, and that is, do we have a time that we can identify now that is a good weekday time for everybody to meet? Is 11 o'clock on Thursdays a good time in general?
Yes.
I'm seeing lots of heads raised.
Good by me.
No, Commissioner Thomas is out. I know she has a teaching schedule. Ms. Thomas, can you identify some times around your teaching schedule and tell us?
Well, it's just this time of day is bad. So I would say Monday before noon would be good,
Monday before noon,
or Fridays before noon.
Monday or Friday before noon. How is everybody with that?
Fridays are better
Friday.
for me.
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton, you look like you wish to comment, but you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, Monday morning is not a great time for me either. Friday is generally better,
Okay.
I think. But can we maybe vote on a couple ideas, or do we want to the Zoom, maybe the Survey Monkey type thing where it's
We were hoping to avoid Survey Monkeys and just doodles and just identify something like the second or third Friday in the month.
Let's see.
I know for me, this is Lenny. I have a standing Friday meeting at 10 a.m. with the Indiana Restaurant Association, which I would hate to miss. So
yes,
if we could make it, earlier, I'm good with early morning, just as long as I get a cup of coffee in me.
Okay. Does 8:30 sound like enough time?
Oh, I can certainly get a cup of coffee before 8:30. That would work for me.
Thumbs up from Ms. Bright.
Yeah.
Thumbs up from Mr. Satilli.
I'm really going to need to
Mrs.
check
Smith.
with my scheduler. I'm sorry, I just don't have all.
Okay.
But if we have a couple options, maybe 8:30 or 11. Lenny, how long is your meeting?
Depends on how much is going on legislatively, but I would say by 11 I can probably cut out. I can make sure whatever points I need to make are made, and make sure I get on your call.
Well,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, I've got a noon hard stop I've got to get to, but maybe we can look at a couple options like that, and Ms. Miller can send around by email.
That sounds good.
Okay.
So we're aiming for
Thanks a lot.
8:30 or 11 on the
Third
second
Friday.
or third Friday.
Okay, sounds fair.
Is there any other business people wish to bring before the commission? Then
There is not.
without needing to meet for 1 minute more, we are happily adjourned, and thank you all for your time.